And hold. Oh, we are live. All right, let me fix all the things. I told you this would be a panic.
13 kilometers as the crow flies, you may be able to see Ariane waiting on the pad. Inside Jupiter, Lise Pedersen handling French commentary. Good evening, Lise.
Good evening, Josh. Delighted to be here this evening. Yes, here I am right at the hub of the Mission Control Center. We have our guests and friends around us, and behind us we have the flight desk.
All is go for liftoff. Even the weather is cooperating. Launch time 19:18 local. That's in just 13 minutes. We're going to zoom back out to the launch base now to give you a first look at the Ariane 5. If you're unfamiliar with the vehicle, she stands 51 meters tall and is in two parts. They call them composites, an upper and a lower. The two passengers are upper passenger JCSat 17, the heavier one, separated first, and the lower passenger GeoComsat 2B, due to be separated at 31 minutes. Stefan Israel not here tonight. We recorded him earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our third launch of the year, the second one using an Ariane 5 launcher. After our latest launch in Baikonur Cosmodrome, we are back in the CAG for today's mission. Ariane 5 is set to deliver two satellites for two long-standing Asian customers. GCSat 17 for SkyPerfect GSat and GeoComsat 2B, also named Sholian 2B, for the CARI, the Korean Aerospace Research Institute. For this 250-second launch of an Ariane vehicle, Ariane 5 will place these satellites into a geostationary transfer orbit. Once in space, GCSat 17 will separate first and GeoComsat 2B will follow a few minutes later. The mission will last slightly more than 31 minutes. For having entrusted Arianespace with the launch of GCSat 17, I would like to thank SkyPerfect GSat. It is already your 20th bird about to reach the stars thanks to Arianespace, strengthening our close partnership that goes back to GCSat first, launched in 1989. It also represents the 32nd satellite launched by Arianespace for Japan. Once on location, GCSat 17 will deliver flexible, high-bandwidth communications to users in Japan and the surrounding region, enabling assured telecommunications continuity during disaster management. For the manufacturing of this next-generation satellite, Arianespace is grateful to Lockheed Martin. GCSat 17 represents the 47th spacecraft we launched together. For our other passenger, I would like to express my gratitude to CARI for having developed Sholian 2B and selected Arianespace to launch this spacecraft. This satellite will be the third satellite we launched for the Korean Space Agency since 2010 and the 8th for South Korea. As part of the GeoComsat 2 national program initiated by the Korean government, GeoComsat 2B will be dedicated for Earth environment and ocean monitoring missions. It will join GeoComsat 2A mission in orbit, launched in 2018 with Ariane 5. Our Ariane 5 number 108 is now ready for liftoff, so enjoy the show.
That was Stéphane Israël, her Chief Executive Officer for Arianespace. And I have the great pleasure of having Luce Fabregatz by my side. She's the Executive Vice President for Missions, Operations and Purchases at Arianespace. Good evening, Luce. Thanks for being with us. You will soon be taking your place in the flight desk behind this pane of glass. And I'd like to know who's going to be with you and what will all of you be doing?
Well, there are four of us on the flight desk. We have on my left Roland Lagier, our Chief Technical Officer, who will declare at any moment on the flight worthiness of the launch vehicle. And on my right, our VP for Guyana Operations, Bruno Girard, who is a perfect interface and who knows all the local industry and the authorities here. And we also have the fourth person tonight, a female representative of our marketing department, command. So we are the flight desk, and in front of us we have representatives from the spacecraft, and on our left the management representatives of CNES and CNES teams for all the range activities.
Thank you. So, as you said, there are 3 different sides to a launch.
Yes, well, a successful launch is a perfect connection between the satellites that need to be ready to tonight, the space base, which provides all the services that will help us track the launcher, to have good weather, to guarantee safety and security for everybody, and last but not least, the launch vehicle. And the launch vehicle is not represented here, but we hear that in our headsets, and information is sent to us directly, so we have information about all these 3 components so that we can make decisions. Everything's running perfectly here. Each component is following its plan as expected, but if there were a difficulty with one of the 3, then we would need to make decisions to continue with operations or to postpone them.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thanks a lot. I won't detain you any further, and I'll give the floor back to Joshua.
Countdown proceeding normally. 8 minutes to go for the Asian charter. Tonight, launch window tonight about an hour. Normally, standard window 45 minutes, so we have plenty of time. At the top of the broadcast, we always like to present some of the key players who make the mission happen. A look first at the Ariane Space Program directors. Alina Sentinai for JCSat 17 and Thierry Pham for GeoComSat 2B. Every Ariane Space customer has one sole point of contact, the program director. 2 others you'll be seeing today, and especially hearing from one of them, the mission director, Bruno Ariane from Ariane Space, alongside the range operations manager, that's Bruno on the left, aka the DDO, Jacques Mongis, tonight from CNES. You'll be hearing a lot of him tonight because he makes all the key announcements.
Attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
He's going to call out the 7-minute mark.
Top, H0 moins 7 minutes.
Okay.
Et voilà, comme vous venez de l'entendre, nous venons
As you've
d'entrer dans la
just
séquence
heard, we have just started the synchronized sequence. For the synchronized sequence to be initiated, all the parameters that you can see on the board behind me must be green. The information you have there is about the launcher, the satellites, and all the other requirements before liftoff. We will be lifting off in approximately 6 minutes. All the indicators are green. Tonight's satellites arrived in French Guiana about a month ago. Let's share some of the highlights with you.
The launch campaign started on the 6th of January with the arrival of the lower satellite, GeoComSat 2B, at Cayenne Félix Éboué Airport and its transportation to the S5C preparation payload facilities. Standalone activities were performed until the 24th, day of its transfer to the hazardous payload facilities S5B for the propellant loading operations.
Hello, for everybody just joining us. These are space commercials. There's just some information about the satellites. There's captions on, so I don't feel too bad. So yeah, there are lots of terms. I have my bingo card up. I probably will either need to hide it or move it. Feel free to ask me questions. I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, we normally play launch bingo for launches because why not? Sometimes the craziest things happen of these. I did do my best to make sure that excuse me. I did do my best to make sure that the normal terms were on there, but I was having a freak out. If you have a card that says Annie having a meltdown, go ahead and check that off because it's just one of those days, apparently. I needed to kick the router, which at one point I'll remember to reboot the router and the computer at the same time. But yeah, I have to re-solidified, and the dogs are like, "You gonna toss us some more Cheerios, Mom?" But yeah, welcome to the stream. And things and stuff. The green thing in the corner is the countdown clock.
hoisted and matted to the launch vehicle around 5, waiting for
I swear I've had coffee. I swear I've had coffee. And there are just 2 satellites on this. And once we, because oh dear, it is a Saturday, or it is a Tuesday. Oh dear, I still have to finish a rocket roundup for tomorrow too. So we'll talk about this launch, rocket roundup. We'll talk about the SpaceX launch, and there was another one. So, no, I did not include hot mic this time.
For Ariane Space, the second from Kourou.
I should have.
11 days ago, Ariane Space launched a Soyuz from Baikonur with 34 OneWeb satellites. That was the 50th Ariane Space Soyuz launch. Lise has joined us here in the terrace. Glad to have you.
Nice to join you, Josh.
And you're just in time because you got to tell us all about the Launch Management Center.
Well, yes, the teams are in the CDL-3, which is only less than 3 kilometers away from the launcher, reminding you that we here are 13 kilometers away. So they are very near to where the action is taking place. And they have been working since very early this morning, Josh. In fact, the work is almost pretty much done by now.
But that doesn't mean it has not been a very busy day, because the launch management teams have been working under the direction of Launch Complex Operations Manager. Today, Philippe Hers, you heard from him in the film before. There are actually 2 teams up there. One is responsible for executing the flight chronology, and the other for verification of the flight worthiness of the Ariane 5 vehicle.
And located so near to the pad, the teams are actually, the whole building is put into autonomous mode half an hour before H0, made airtight and becomes entirely autonomous.
Final countdown actually began at 7:55 this morning. That's 11 hours ago. Makes for a long day. 1 hour later for the satellites, 7:55 for the launcher, of course. The inertial measurement, geometric units, and safeguard subsystem are all switched on. The onboard computers were turned on at noon, and the flight program was loaded at that time. Filling the lower stage began about 2:40 p.m., an hour later for the upper stage.
And one of the very last things you will see is when the yellow arms disconnect. That's 5 seconds before liftoff. Those arms are not there to hold up the launcher. They're there to fill Ariane's upper stage right up to the very last moment. So watch out for those yellow arms when they disconnect.
The electrical power supply has now been switched from the ground to onboard. That's one of the last things on the list, so you can see what's happening. Ariane 5 becoming autonomous little by little as power passing from the ground computers, which controls everything now, to the onboard computers, which will control everything afterward. And here in Jupiter, the invited guests have begun to make their way down here onto the terraces. Come on and we can get a shot of them. There's one terrace down here, there's another one on the other side. See them down there. They're going to have a fine view of the liftoff.
Absolutely, and of course those who aren't lucky enough
À tous de
to
DDO.
be here.
Attention pour moins d'une minute.
DDO about to announce the 1 minute mark. So those who aren't lucky enough to be here at the Jupiter Center, a lot of people in Kourou love to simply hang out at the beach. That's one of the best places from which to watch the liftoff.
And we're into the final 60 seconds. Give us a chance to say hi to all of our friends, people watching Japan and Korea, our friends at Sky Perfect JSAT, at Kari, at Lockheed Martin in Denver. Hello to all of you. To Ariane Space in Evry, and to the local French Guiana sites, to our industrial partners, ISA and CNES, and to all of you following on the internet.
We're going to cut away now. We wish you a wonderful launch, and we'll be back with you in just over 1 minute. Enjoy the launch.
Rocket launches are loud. Take out your earbuds or turn down your volume now.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage moteur Vulcain. Allumage EAP et décollage VA 252. Propulsion nominale.
Well, there we go. Gosh, I have
Tous les
to say, it is
paramètres
always
bord
an
sont
extremely
normaux.
moving experience to watch this. It's my second live, but my goodness, it is something else, isn't it, Josh? You've been doing this for years.
I've never seen one from the terrace here, or just now at plus 50 seconds, getting the noise of the liftoff with that delay.
There you go. I don't know if you can hear us, but here we go. And yeah, we have. I'm gonna, this is a very loud noise. So we have our launcher has passed Mach 1 and it is now moving faster than the speed of sound. Josh.
707
Paramètres bord normaux,
that's a lot of weight.
trajectoire nominale.
I hope you can hear me. We need a lot of push, and we have a lot of push, and you can hear it. 5 tons of fuel burning every second. That's 2.5 tons burning every second in each booster. Ariane 5 now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including the stage separations. We'll soon start to see those in about 30 seconds. We are now in the first of 4 flight phases. The first 3 are power, the last is not, and we'll be describing each in turn so you can follow Ariane on her mission. Right now, the first flight phase, the single first stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. You can see that on the animation on the screen, and the boosters will burn for just over 2 minutes, and you'll hear that from the DDO.
So yes, the boosters will have basically got rid of all their propellant in just over 2 minutes. I'm looking at the screen to check, obviously, the time. And so that will then follow the basic rule in spaceflight, which is, well, you've got to share the most weight fast as possible so you can move faster and get your mission accomplished. So we'll be getting rid of those boosters right now. Here we go. Waiting for confirmation.
You see it on the screen.
Séparation des étages, accélérateur
You
à
see what it
poudre.
looks like up there? There is another, there are of course 2 boosters. There's one falling away out of camera range on the port side of the vehicle. They fall into a protected area about 500 kilometers from shore. French Guiana in part selected as a launch base because of the opening on the water, launches posing no threat to the local land population.
So if you take a look at the bottom of your screen, on the left you will see the altitude and on the right you'll see the speed. So we are currently going at a speed, our launch is going at a speed of just over 2 kilometers a second, and we are at an altitude of 100 kilometers. This is the crucial altitude, isn't it, Josh? Because it's the altitude where there is no more heat or friction to bother our passengers. What's going to happen?
Do you know the altitude we need, speed, I'm sorry, we need to separate a satellite?
I think it's 9 kilometers a second.
Yes, it is. Do you know why?
Tell me why, Josh.
It's because the satellites are going into geostationary orbit, and that is the speed, roughly, at which the Earth turns. And the geostationary orbit means the satellites are hovering over one particular point on the Earth, Korea or Japan in this case, so flying at the same speed. Let me show you. You're the Earth, and I'm the satellite, all right? You start turning.
Okay.
All right. If you turn to the same speed, I say with you, that's geostationary orbit.
So here we have it, and we have in this in the meantime, we have now got rid of the fairing, and our satellite is our top satellite. The one in the upper position is now exposed to space.
Ariane Space, part of the European space effort, which is a 3-way affair. Ariane Space, the CNES, the French Space Agency, and ESA, the European Space Agency. Briefly, Ariane Space is in charge of operating the family of launch vehicles and marketing the launch services of the program, ESA funding the programs, and CNES coordinating space-based activities.
And here you can see on your screens Marianne Claire. She is the new head of the CSG, and it's the first time that a woman has taken on this position. She is in charge of what the French call sauvegarde, in charge of infrastructures and safety, and she will also be in charge of renovating the CSG. This hasn't happened in 20 years since Ariane 5.
We have a series of films for you this evening on the customers. We're going to go to the first one, a first look at our first customer, JCSat 17.
Hello, my name is Alina Centenay, and I'm the JCSat 17 Program Director for Ariane Space. JCSat 17 is positioned on top of the double launch structure named Silda and below the fairing. JCSat 17 will be the 21st SkyPerfect JSAT satellite to be launched by Ariane Space. SkyPerfect JSAT Corporation is a leader in the converging fields of broadcasting and communications. Since the launch of JCSat-1 in 1989, SkyPerfect JSAT Corporation and Ariane Space have developed a strong relationship of mutual trust. Now I would like to introduce Mr. Fujita, the JCSat-17 Program Manager.
Hi Alina.
Fujita-san, could you introduce JCSat-17?
Yes, GSAT-17 is a communication satellite that provides mobile communications over Japan and the surrounding region by using S-band and C-band transponders. It also provides communications by Ku-band. GSAT-17 has very flexible capabilities through the use of a digital channelizer and beamformer in order to meet various demands of the end user.
Can you tell us more about the JCSat-17 program?
Since the program kickoff, Lockheed Martin and JSAT have been working so hard with a very good relationship toward the delivery at the launch site. Additionally, the launch campaign has been very smooth thanks to collaboration between Ariane and Lockheed Martin. Now I'm so pleased and very excited that we are here today.
Thank you very much for the insight, and we'll be back later in the video transmission.
All right, our stage is set. You met all the key players. What do you say? It's back to the booth for us.
Back to the booth. But a reminder for those of you who are joining us tonight. So this is Ariane Space flight VA252. 2 passengers tonight, GCSat-17 and GeoComSat 2B. Let's find out more about our second passenger from project manager Thierry Fan.
Alright, so I'm gonna kind of turn down this space commercial. So, it's gone off and done the thing. I don't have the press kit, so I don't know any of the timings for anything. Anything. But yeah, so if you're playing bingo along at wherever you are, I don't want to assume you're at home. Maybe you're watching from work. DPI says maybe we should swap out partner for customer next time. Yeah, probably. So I didn't print out a call sheet, but here's what I have that you should definitely have marked off. Any mention of the weather, liftoff, SRB, T-, internal power, fairing separation, carry, the free square, any mentioned partner, second stage, JCSat-17, French Guiana, Lockheed Martin, Annie having a meltdown, fishbowl, orbit. You should also have things like booster separation.
All right, we're back in the booth. CARI, the Korean Aerospace Research Institute, a government group. In 2015, it signed with Ariane Space to launch both GeoComSat 2A and 2B. Ariane Space launched 2A in December of 2018, making this the second CARI satellite orbited by Ariane Space and the 8th launched for the nation of Korea. We're awaiting confirmation of the cutoff of lower stage, and you have it on the animation. You saw the engine shut down, and there is separation. And you'll watch the nozzle, and it lights up. There you have ignition of the upper stage. You see the lower stage falling back into the Gulf of Guinea. These 3 orders, extinction and separation of the lower stage and ignition of the upper stage, coming on time, given by the onboard computer in about 13 seconds. Our mass now, 29 tons, down from the original 775, the DDO saying everything is okay on board. We're now into the 3rd and final powered flight phase. That's the single upper stage engine burning, and will burn until plus 2521, 16 minutes, roughly. The job of the upper stage is to take the satellites to their injection point, position them for separation, and then release them. That's its propulsion role, but she also has a second role, and that comes during Ariane 5's ballistics phase, which comes later in the flight, in between satellite separation. We'll have more on that coming up. We're being followed now by our first downrange tracking station, Natal, over the border in Brazil, run by the Brazilian Air Force. We're going to have another look now, coming up on our second passenger, GeoComSat 2B. You'll be hearing from CARI's Satellite Program Director.
GeoComSat 2 program is a national program of the Korean government to develop and operate 2 civilian GEO satellites, GeoComSat 2A and 2B. GeoComSat 2B satellite was first developed by CARI with the support of the Ministry of Science and ICT, Ministry of Environment, and Ministry of Ocean and Fisheries as a 10-year mission life, like the GeoComSat 2A satellite. GeoComSat-2B satellite has two types of payload for observing the atmospheric environment and marine environment around the Korean Peninsula. The first payload is an environment payload and ultra-precision optical system for observing fine dust and other materials in the air. It will observe 20 kinds of important information from Japan in the east to northern Indonesia in the west. It will also trace the migration paths of fine dust to analyze scientifically the impact of overseas dust on the domestic atmospheric environment of Korea. The information can be used for establishment of air quality improvement policies, and also it carries the world's first geo-orbit environment observation payload. The second payload will be used for the observing marine disaster, and performance of GK2B has been significantly improved in terms of resolution from 500 meters to 250 meters compared to Cheolyan-1 launched in 2010. It will contribute to the protection of the marine environment and management of marine resources by monitoring the dumping of pollutants into the sea and the change in seawater quality. Moreover, it can be widely used for maritime safety and defense activities by observing sea currents and sea fogs. Finally, we expect the launching of GK2B following GK2A to establish a world-class service system for the observation of the meteorological, atmospheric, and oceanic conditions of the Korean Peninsula. Thank you, Ariane Space and CNES CS teams, and thanks to all of GK2 program members.
GeoComSat-2B arrived here in French Guiana on January 6th and was transferred to the payload preparation facilities here at the base for checks. They're called the S5 buildings.
Tous les
Ariane
paramètres bord
5.
sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale,
The
la
DDO is
propulsion est
continuing to say
nominale.
all is perfect on board, no problems. Ariane Space launched Korea's first satellite in 1992. That was KitSat, 40 kilos. Went up on an Ariane 4. KitSat-B went up the year after. Ariane Space also launched the first Kari satellite in 2010.
Fin de
That's
réception
COMS-1, I think
de
it
la
was mentioned.
télémesure par la
A
station de
Telecom
Natal
Ocean
au Brésil.
Observation and Weather Satellite. It also orbited KoreaSats for Korea Telecom. And the new Vega C, set to orbit another ComSat in the years ahead. ComSat-2A has a weather payload and a space environment payload. 2B, an Earth environment payload, and an ocean monitoring payload. We mentioned the CSG, the world's only dedicated commercial space base. 3 campaigns have been going on at once here, along with this Ariane launch.
Acquisition de la
Campaigns for the
télémesure
next
par la
Soyuz
station
and
de
Vega
l'île
launches taking
d'Ascension.
place at the same time. CSG chosen as a site in 1964 because of one key advantage, and you can guess what that is: a large opening on the water, 50 kilometers of
Tous les
coastline.
paramètres bord sont normaux, la
A
trajectoire et
musical
la
interlude
propulsion
now
sont
for
nominales.
more on GeoComSat-2B.
Tous les paramètres au bord sont normaux, la propulsion est nominale, la trajectoire est nominale, le pilotage est calme. Paramètres bord nominaux, trajectoire nominale.
We are now being picked up by our next downrange tracking station, Ascension Island. That's a tiny island in the South Atlantic, 10 square kilometers, an antenna of 5 meters. NASA had a station there till 1989 and closed it when their TDRS program began, and ESA built its own station. And I do believe Ascension Island was the first Earth station to hear Neil Armstrong say, "Tranquility Base here, the Eagle has landed," on the Apollo 11 flight. 8 minutes to go in the upper stage burn. You know, of course, Europe is developing the successor to Ariane 5. Ariane 6 will be a more market-driven vehicle to meet customer needs and market changes, including electrical propulsion. Ariane 6 will have shorter production times, also more streamlined launch campaigns. I think they're going to be cut in half, from 30 to 15 days. First launch set for the end of this year, and the work on the base and the ground segment is well advanced. The new pad is 2.5 times as big as the Soyuz pad, going up between the Soyuz and Ariane 5 pads, if you know the geography around here. So rendezvous, before the year is out, right here. We were picked up by our next downrange station at Libreville in Gabon. A look at the Sky Perfect group now in our next film.
What the Sky Perfect JSAT group values the most as a satellite operator is to be connected anytime, anywhere. We operate and control geostationary satellites at 36,000 kilometers from the Yokohama Satellite Control Center and 2 other control centers nationwide. We use geostationary satellites to provide stable communications in the air and sea. In order to provide prompt rescue and support during and after disasters, it is necessary to secure quick communication. Satellite communication is a big asset. In addition, we have partnered with low Earth orbit satellite operators, and from JAXA, we acquired small demonstration satellites. We will enter into the sensing business that collects and uses space data. For image analysis, we provide intelligence to make informed decisions in partnership with Planet Labs Incorporated, Orbital Insight Incorporated, and others. Satellite drones connecting anywhere with satellite communication. Active in situations where communication has been difficult. We will combine these technologies to provide services in a wide range of fields. We invested in Chal Energy Incorporated, a wind power company. We will work on areas where power and communication infrastructures are not in place. We are researching an AI that analyzes data being sent by ships to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The application Kumolog was born. Observe clouds from photos and learn about the weather in a fun way. Began considering a partnership with Gitai Incorporated, who develops robots that work in space by remote control from Earth. We will create a future where robots work instead of astronauts. Space debris has become a global issue. We will also work to find solutions. Space farther than geostationary satellites. Sky Perfect JSAT is testing the communication infrastructure, which is essential when we enter new territories. We are also actively promoting co-creation with external partners in order to respond to the higher values required in the recent times. Space for your smile. Sky Perfect JSAT Group.
The expected satellite lifetimes, 15 years for JCSat, 10 for ComSat. These things are studied, of course, very extensively, but sometimes you get surprises. Throughout Ariane's 40 years, we've launched all types of missions, and I'm remembering one particular, XMM Newton, if you remember that, launched in 1999 on the first commercial Ariane 5. Its mission was to look for invisible rays, high-frequency rays. Life expectancy was 2 years. And it's still going strong 20 years later. All its original systems are working, no backups. Solar panels still generating power, apparently more than they need. It has amazed everybody. It just doesn't want to retire. It discovered apparently a new black hole. Astronomers are still using it. ESA says they may prolong its life till 2024. I mention that because it makes you see how important French Guiana is for Europe, despite its being 7,000 kilometers away. The Guiana Space Center offers an independent access to space. A look now at
Make it rain! Speak! All right, thank you for the follow!
We are back with Mr. Fujita, the JCSat-17 program manager. After separation, your team has different milestones before putting JCSat-17 in service. Can you tell us what are the next steps?
Once the spacecraft is separated from the launch vehicle, we'll begin maneuvers to get the spacecraft to the geostationary orbit, which will take a week.
Okay, I'm just gonna talk over this. That one video,
Those deployment operations will be exciting events for sure.
I don't know. Like, I just,
testing, to confirm the
that was a lot. It was a lot. Not this video. This video is fine. The last video was a lot. I'm generally okay with space robots, even if they meet the uncanny valley.
And I would like to thank Ariane Space.
But which the Indian human surrogate robot, it's actually a half humanoid robot because it's a torso. Meaning, waist down there's nothing. It's a torso. Torso, arms, head, there's no legs. And yeah. But that last video, I'm just, the blimp? Why are they using a blimp? There aren't that many blimps or, like, rigid airships still in operation. I don't know. Anyway, back to the announcer.
317th mission performed by the Ariane family. The 252nd on an Ariane, the 108th on an Ariane 5. JCSat-17 and GeoComSat-2B are the 653rd and 54th satellites to be launched by Arianespace. And before tonight, 380 geostationary satellites, both main and auxiliary payloads, have been orbited by Arianespace. Awaiting shutdown of the upper stage burn, you will see the nozzle, the blue flame, shut down, and then you will hear the DDO confirm the milestone in about 5 or 6 seconds, cut off to at 25:21.
Extinction de l'étage supérieur cryotechnique.
And the DDO has confirmed it. Ariane uses up her onboard fuel during the flight, becoming lighter, but as her push remains the same, the result is acceleration. However, she has reached maximum speed, as you can see on the bottom right, 9.3 kilometers per second. And now you'll see her start to slow down. When she separates JCSat, her speed will be 9.1 kilometers. GeoComSat-2B at plus 3106.
Manœuvre d'orientation au profit du satellite JCSat-17
per second. Going to take a look now at the Quick Look Telemetry Display Control Center, called the CVI. It's on a hill just behind us here in Jupiter. These teams have all the means for receiving, processing, storing, and analyzing all the data coming in from the ground stations along Ariane's flight path. These data are collected by the 10-meter dish at the Montagne des Pères, altitude 133 meters. Remember, we talked about the downrange stations that follow the launcher. Right now, these teams are following all the key flight data coming in, and they're reporting the flight status of the launcher back to the teams here in Jupiter. The announcements you hear made by the DDO come from the CVI. The information goes to them first, and they relay it to Jupiter and to the flight desk and to the launch complex operations. All part of the great information flow from points across the base back to Jupiter here. JCSat-17 due for separation at plus 2737, just under 40 seconds. Latest in the long association between Arianespace and SkyPerfect JSat. 21st SkyPerfect JSat satellite to be launched.
La phase balistique se poursuit nominalement.
Also a long partnership between SkyPerfect JSat and Lockheed Martin. The 8th satellite between them, the 47th Lockheed Martin satellite to be launched by Arianespace. as we near confirmation from the DDO on separation. Due in a few seconds. Always a moment of high concentration, no matter how much experience you have. Teams have gone through these procedures before, but it does call for tremendous focus.
Séparation du satellite JCSat-17.
And there you have confirmation by the DDO. And our first good news, you notice people here in Jupiter very politely holding their applause because the mission is not over. We still have to separate our final passenger, GeoComSat 2B. That's coming up in about 4 minutes. You see our first passenger pushed away. A series of springs pushes her away from the mothership, starting her life. JCSat 17 using the new Lockheed Martin 2100 bus for the first time, offering flexible solar arrays. We heard this morning, instead of unfolding, they were rolled up like a window shade. The advantage, making them lighter, more compact, able to hold more solar cells per kilos. It's the first big deployment after the launch, and we know the Lockheed Martin engineers will be watching that part of the layups very carefully. Coming up on SILD separation in about a minute, we want to mention there's been a slight loss of telemetry signal today. That's quite normal. It's not a problem. Sometimes it happens due to the launcher's position. There's a brief blackout at the ground stations. Tonight there was a loss of signal about a minute between Natal and Ascension, and 20 seconds between Ascension and Libreville. Again, quite normal. We don't lose the information. It's stored on board, and the vehicle equipment bay is programmed to record the data it would normally be sending down and to start sending the data when the signal has returned. SILDA separation. SILDA is the left bell-shaped structure which allows us to carry a second passenger. Separation coming right on time over the Indian Ocean, revealing our lower passenger, GeoComSat. We are still in what they call the coasting phase, also known as the free-flying phase. What's happening deserves a bit of explanations. We have to separate the two satellites and the SILDA, of course, in 3 different directions, also at 3 different altitudes. To do this, the composite is being maneuvered and spun in a series of operations. They range in time from a few seconds to a few minutes. The attitude and control system uses small thrusters to do this. You might see them popping on and off on the animation on the screen. There are 12 of them in all, 4 clusters of 3 on the outside of the upper stage. Now, these thrusters orient the composite in the directions required by the first satellite, then they separate it. Then they start a second series of moves to orient and separate the SILDA, and we saw those operations. And they're doing the same now for the lower passenger. They can move the composite in any direction. That's what the upper stage is doing right now. In the trade, sometimes they call it a space ballet. All this, of course, programmed in advance. The information is in the onboard computer. The launcher knows precisely what it has to do, where it is, and where it's going at all times. 15 seconds to go until separation of our second passenger. Again, a moment of high concentration here in Jupiter. No doubt at CARI and elsewhere where the technicians and operationals are monitoring their satellite's progress. Tonight representing years of work for many of these people.
Séparation du satellite GeoComSat 2B.
So, the final good news. You can hear the applause now from the people in Jupiter. Ariane 5 delivering her second passenger, GeoComSat 2B, over the Indian Ocean. So, for the rather focused moments just minutes ago, and the concentrated faces, you can see the change here in Jupiter. Very buoyant all across the Space Center, and at all the posts where people are following the launcher and the satellite. So congratulations to all the teams. We are waiting now for the traditional post-separation speeches. The podium being set.
Okay, real talk.
We'll be hearing from Luce Fabricant.
These post-separation celebration speeches are long, and they are important, but it's going to be everybody thanking everybody. They're long and boring, and Arianespace is going to have this archived on their website. So here's the replay. No!
See, we have cameras at several posts, observation posts here at the base. There are about half a dozen of them. And you'll be able to see all the different shots, some closer to the pad, some farther away. While you're watching, how about a quiz question? See if you can get this. Quiz question number 252 from Ariane Space. Ready? What is the record mass that an Ariane launcher has put into orbit? Rather easy question. Again, Ariane Space quiz question 252. What's the record mass an Ariane launcher has put into orbit?
Okay, so, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and mute that.
Twice. 2 ATV missions, each launched over 20 tons. 20,063 kilos.
I'm just gonna go ahead and mute that. And by mute, I meant pause. Really, I did. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody got a full house bingo. I will eventually introduce other bingos. It's just easier to teach line bingo and full house bingo. I have 1, 2, 3. I also have 5 terms left off of my card. One of which is near infrared laser diodes. I was never gonna get a full card bingo. I was never gonna get a full card bingo. So anyways, thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate it. Tinker is doing so good. She is exactly on doggo cam. She's sitting, she's quiet. I don't know why she moves when I do this. Make it rain! Because if she just stays there, she would get more Cheerios. I don't know why she moves. Alright, so yeah, I'm glad everything worked out. I'm glad all the technical difficulties just worked themselves out. And, yeah, I will see you all tomorrow with Rocket Roundup, which I'm now gonna go back to working on because, hey, another rocket launched. So hopefully nothing else launches today. Because sometimes rockets just launch without you knowing about it. It happens. It's a thing. Yeah, I have to upload audio to the correct place. Oh my, oh my. But yes, thank you everybody for your patience. Y'all are amazing. You really are. And yeah, this has been a production of PSI. That's Planetary Science Institute. Working in collaboration with Youngstown State University here in Youngstown. It's getting dark outside. We are here because of you. So, thank you. Really, thank you. Hi, Puck. Are you happy that they're here to support us? Can you speak? Okay, they're not going to speak. But yeah, thank you everybody for your support and your patience and all of that. Until next time, keep being awesome. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful insert time of day here, and I will see you later. Bye.